Hey kids, today I'm going to read the book called The Monkey and the Crocodile. And this is a fun book that I bought a long time ago for Uncle Josh and Aunt Brittany. And it's a tale about forgiveness. So we hope you enjoy it. In the middle of a great jungle, there lived a great lion who was also a great king. He ruled the jungle so wisely that all the animals loved him and obeyed him. That's why they all came to him at the first full moon of every year to pay their rent. They came from their rocks and caves and trees and holes and rivers and nests and mountains and valleys. They paraded before the king as he decided how much rent each one should pay. The amount was always fair, and no one ever complained. No one but the crocodile. Mr. Antelope brought cast-off velvet antlers. Mrs. Waterhen her 6 best brown eggs. Mr. Owl a wise saying. And the snake family their finest old skins. But the crocodile always brought his bad temper. "Not a la, he growled. "This rent business gives me a big pain," he groaned. "I don't want to pay my rent," he grizzled. "And why should I?" he grumbled. "I'm a croc," he bragged. "I do what I like, I do it when I like, and I do it how I like, and I do it where I like." "Enough," commanded the king. "That's the trouble with you, crocodile. You only like to do what hurts others. You do very nasty things in the river. You eat people and animals, and you make the young creatures too frightened even to take a drink." The lion was very angry. "You must pay $10 for living in the river," he said. "Not a la, snapped the crocodile. $10. I had $10, but I spent it on scary masks and toffee apples at the last jungle fair. I haven't got any more money." "All right," said the king in his important voice. "But if you're lying, you'll be in big trouble." Then the king said in his very important voice, "I will give you until the next full moon to give me $10. You will have to work very hard to earn it." Then the king said in his most important voice, "Remember, I'm giving you the extra time because I am kind. If you don't pay your rent, or if I find you causing unhappiness, you will go to the deepest, darkest dungeon, where you will eat brains, spinach, burnt toast, and black custard for the rest of your life." "Not a la, snarled the crocodile. $10, he scoffed. "Next full moon," he sneered. "It makes me so mad I could eat a hippopotamus," he snorted. And then he slithered back through the jungle. The last animal to come before the king was the tiniest monkey. He skipped and hopped and giggled his way up the jungle path. He bowed so low in front of the king that he fell over and made a somersault and landed on the great kingly paw. "Oopsie daisy," he chuckled. "Sorry, your majesty. I whoopsied on your tootsie, and I didn't mean to. And anyway, how are you and your Mrs. Majesty and all your little your majesties? And ooh, look at all those treasures. Is that from collecting rent? It seems like a good idea. I hope you get real rich and give some to me. And be quiet," roared the king. He sounded quite cross, but there was a twinkle in his eye and a smile in the corner of his mouth. "Yes, your wondrousness," said the monkey, who was busy trying to undo a knot in his tail. "Monkey," said the king, "you are the sweetest and silliest of my creatures. You make everyone laugh, and although you talk too much—" "Oh, no, I don't," said the monkey. "You ought to hear my mother. She's a real chatterbox. She goes on and on and on and on and on and never takes a breath, and she's always talking about when she went to the hospital and her operation." "Monkey!" "Whoopsie daisy. Sorry, my mouth was having an accident." The lion paused and then continued. "For living in my tallest tree," he said, "you shall pay me 10 cents. Hip hip hooray for the king of the lions in the jungle, said the monkey, busily fiddling with the end of his tail while skipping along on one leg. Gotcha, he cried, holding up a coin. That's all I had left, he explained. It's 10 cents tied in a knot in the end of my tail. My mother put it there for my rent. And just then, the money slipped out of his fingers, rolled across the floor, and landed between the king's toes. Oh, don't worry. I'll get it, he said, and started to dig around on the great king's royal foot. Erk, he said, you got all grungy stuff in between your toes. You should dry your toes after your bath. And oh, here it is. Now, I'll give it to you if you promise not to put it in your mouth, because you shouldn't suck on money. The lion could hardly keep a straight face, but at last he said thank you and took the monkey's rent money. Then he raised his eyebrows and sighed. Do be quiet, monkey. I have one more thing to say. I suspect the crocodile is planning evil ways to earn money to pay his rent. I fear he has learned nothing from my kindness. He could be dangerous. Well, don't you worry about him, said the monkey. He's got less brains than a hot dog. I can trick him any old day. Anyway, I have to go home because my mother's gone out and I have to polish the coconuts. And if you've ever polished coconuts, you know it's a big job. The monkey voice trailed off as he skipped down the jungle path. When the tiniest monkey reached the end of the path, near his palm tree by the river, he had an awful feeling. He was about to scamper up his tree when he was overwhelmed by the smell of someone, green and slimy and very unpleasant. Is anyone there? He quietly asked, hoping that someone would answer no. He peered into the dark grass, and there, peering back at him, were the two most dreadful eyes in the jungle, unblinking, bloodshot, and bad. Nod-a-la-la-la-la, monkey. It's me, your friend the crocodile. I've been waiting for you. The crocodile smiled an ugly, false, sharp-toothed grin. The monkey, terrified, said the first silly thing he could think of. You don't smell so good, he squeaked. What have you been eating? And then he wished he hadn't mentioned eating. Monkey, I want you to come for a ride on the river with me. I have something nice to show you. And the crocodile stared and smiled in a way that made the monkey's mind go blank. And before you could say, hot dog, the monkey was in deep trouble. By the time his mind began working again, he was hunched wetly on the crocodile's back, floating out into the wide river. His teeth were chattering and his tail was tangled into 3 big knots. Near the middle of the river, the crocodile began to sink his body into the water. The only dry place left for the poor monkey was on the crocodile's head, right around the corner from his mouth. Now, monkey, said the crocodile, you've never seen a river from here before, have you? It's beautiful, isn't it? People usually pay for views like this, monkey. So this was the crocodile's plan. This was how he would gather his rent money. How much do you want? Asked the monkey. How does 10 cents sound? The monkey knew he was in deeper trouble now. I just gave my last 10 cents to the king of the jungle, he burbled. So you better take me home. Give me a little time like the lion gave you so I can ask my mother or collect cans or start a paper route or join the circus or... Oh, no, monkey. It doesn't work like that, said the crocodile. Either you give me 10 cents right now or I eat you all up right here. Suddenly, the monkey had a brilliant idea. His tail unknotted, and all at once, trying not to sound too excited, he said, "Oh, what a shame. It just goes to show you how much you don't know about monkeys." This was not what the crocodile expected to hear. What do you mean? He asked. Well, said the monkey, today's Monday, isn't it? And Monday is Monkey's washing day. Although I wouldn't expect you to know much about washing. The crocodile, curious to know what the monkey was talking about, ignored the insult. As it's washing day, the monkey continued, I've washed and polished my kidneys and left them in the sun to dry. I was just going up my tree to pop them back in when you caught me. They should be ready now, all pink and shiny and fresh and tasty looking. The crocodile, though large in body, was small in brain. He opened his eyes wide in belief. But don't worry, old pal, said the monkey. If you swim me over to my tree, I'll be happy to climb up and get them for you. The thought of newly washed monkey kidneys, all pink and shiny and fresh and tasty looking, was too much for the crocodile to resist. Drooling slimy yellow dribble, he swam away for the bank. The tiniest monkey leaped off his back and, giggling quite loudly now, wait a minute. Oh, he said, open our little mouthsies and I'll throw them right down, as he scampered breathlessly to safety up the very top of the tree. Open the tunnel, he called as he snatched the biggest, hardest coconut he could find. Here comes the choo-choo, he squealed as he bombed the coconut down right into the crocodile's huge gaping mouth. Growled the crocodile and began to swim around in a great rage. He splashed and screamed, but he couldn't swallow it, bite it, chew it, or spit it out. The coconut was stuck. The monkey swung madly from the branches and the vines, giggling and chattering and squealing with delight. Ooh, hee hee, you can't eat me. Your mouth's too full and I'm up in my tree. The noise made by the crocodile and the monkey stirred all the other animals. Other monkeys squealed, birds screeched, and the beasts bellowed so loudly that the great king came running with his proud soldier lions to see what was the trouble. What is the meaning of this? He demanded crossly. The crocodile, swimming furiously in circles, had created a whirlpool, and it seemed as if he would go down in his own plug hole. He was in no condition to explain. None of the other animals knew anything. From the top of his tree, the monkey began to gabble out the story. He stared and he blinked and he made me go on his back. He said it was a nice view and said, give me 10 cents. And I said, take me home and wait a while. And he said, no, I'll eat your innards. And I said, they're drying. And he opened his mouth and I conked him with a big surprise. And now, as you can see, he's a little upset. Enough. I've heard enough, roared the lion. Seize the crocodile and place him in the deepest, darkest dungeon, where he is to be fed brains, spinach, burnt toast, and black custard for the rest of his life. Let this be a lesson to all my creatures. I was kind to him, and he should have been kind to others. Let all learn that my ways are good ways. Let all follow the ways of kindness, forgiveness, and love. The lion looked kindly at the monkey and winked a royal wink. The monkey would have winked back, but he was afraid he might cry, so he sucked his tail instead. The king smiled and walked away. And as the jungle settled into silence and long shadows, the tiniest monkey voice could be heard singing, Forgive and forget, forget and forgive. It's the best way to love. It's the best way to live. Jesus told a story, too, about forgiveness. The kingdom of heaven is like a king. This king decided to bring his accounts up to date. One of his servants was brought in who owed him $10 million he couldn't pay. So the king ordered him to be sold to pay back what he owed. He also ordered the man's wife and children and all he owned to be sold. But the servant fell down before the king. His face was in the dust, and he said, Oh, sir, please be patient with me. I will find a way to pay it all. Then the king was filled with pity for him. So he let his servant go and said he didn't have to pay back his debt. But when the servant left the king, he went to a man who owed him $2,000. He grabbed the man by the throat and he demanded that he pay the debt right away. The man fell down before him. He begged him for a little time. "Be patient and I will pay it," he begged. But the servant wouldn't wait for his money. He had the man arrested and put him into jail until his debt could be paid in full. Then the man's friends went to the king. They told him what had happened, and the king called before him the servant he had forgiven. He said, "You evil-hearted servant, I forgave you a huge debt just because you asked me to. Shouldn't you have had mercy on others, just as I had mercy on you?" And the angry king sent the man to prison, and he would stay there until he had paid every last penny. That story was from Matthew 18, verses 23 to 34. I hope you guys enjoyed The Monkey and the Crocodile, and we'll have more stories to read at another time. Bye.